Hey, what's up guys, it's me Naren. Today I'm going to be doing 10 Pyraminx walkthrough solves. Let's get into it. Before beginning, I would just like to mention that these are going to be L4E walkthrough solves. However, it is very possible to learn something from this as a beginner solver, as you can apply it into your layer building, and it will also help you pick up on L4E, which is the eventual goal of learning beginners. So let's begin. The scramble will be on screen and you can follow along. Make sure to hold green in front and yellow on bottom. So the first thing you see here is that this blue block is large. It has two edges attached to it. So you want to preserve that, because if you can get the edges, which is these two, into their correct slots, you will already have a V. So what I can immediately see is there's a very good solution for this that does not involve any rotations. And once it's done, you'll have a V and a quick rotation into an algorithm that is quite simple. In fact, it goes U prime L prime UL, and then you have a very simple L4E case. It's essentially an L4E case that simplifies into an easier one. So how I would do this is I would start by holding it here. You have two tips. So what you want to do is do them both at the beginning. It's quite simple, like so. You can use this right hand here and a push here and something like this, and then you want to move this edge into here first by doing an insert like that, essentially moving the block out of the way. And then what you want to do is, instead of doing an awkward turn like that to hide this block when moving this edge in, what you want to do is just do a double turn here, move this edge in, and now you can move this here. And you have a quick flip there because it's not a big rotation, which is something good. And from here, you have an algorithm that goes like this: R, U prime, R prime, which brings this edge to the back. So you're essentially simplifying it to an L4E case, where this edge will build with this block. So that brings it here, R, U prime, R prime, into this 4 move insert, my bad. So that's going to be the first. Let's get into the second solve. Okay, so let's get into the second solve. Yes. So this is the scramble, as you can see. And the first thing I notice is that you have no immediate blocks built for you. So you want to make blocks along the way and not just insert your centers in immediately. So how this would work is, obviously you want to, I'm going to choose red here because that'll be a good solution. So if you move this and R prime from this position, you can see that you build this block here. So that's the first thing to notice. Just looking around here, you can see that there are no real other good block solutions. So the best would be to move this edge down here and with the center, thus making this block here. And now what you can do is, normally around here would be where I would build my tips, as it kind of transitions well into it. However, you can build them at the start of the solve, like so. Sorry, like this, and then, and once you've done that, it's possible to just insert this here, but that gives you a not so good L4E case, and in my opinion it's possible to one look from here. So if you see, if you pull this down here, and since this edge needs to get here, it's possible to insert it like this, which builds that block, thus giving you a 3 move insert with a rotation, or 4 move, sorry. So that's, again, it's a another difficult solution to see at first, but it makes much more sense. So essentially you can see that this block looks like it exists, but it's not really a block, because on this side you have a yellow and blue, which is not what you want. So what you want to do is solve these two tips first, build this block down here, and after that bring this here. Then you want to bring this edge here to build a block, so you'll have an L3E case. So that can be done while inserting the green edge, and that'll give you this L3E case here, finishing the solve. That's solve 2. Okay, so let's get into the third solve. Okay, so what I see here immediately is that red is going to most likely be your best bet for a solution. What I would end up doing here is something where I can predict as far as possible, and based on looking at this, I can predict an L3E case. So what I'm seeing is that I solve these two tips first, and I bring with this down with an R prime. That solves this green here, but it's incorrect here because this is a blue, and blue and yellow don't go together there. However, after inserting this down here, or bringing this down rather, these two tips are solved. Inserting this with this edge into its spot here with an L prime R will bring this edge here, such that the green remains here and this color comes here. And since this is green and blue, it'll become green and blue here, and that's exactly where we want it. And the other thing is that you have the other red edge here, and since you've built a block here, you can now do a U L prime, and that'll give you an L3E case, and you have this tip at the back. That's what I see in inspection, and I'm gonna execute that now. So first, all these two tips R prime, you have this here, and it'll get permuted by doing this. Insert that here, and you have actually an L2E case, and you can go directly into that and finish with your last tip. That's it for solve 3. So this is the second scramble where we have a similar situation like this. Essentially, we have a couple of blocks here. However, I would not do the same thing. So in this case, I would actually do something slightly different. But regardless, so we have two tips over here. We have yellow, which is actually very good. We have one block here, one block here. We have red, which again has this double block here, one block with two edge pieces. But I think in this case, we're going to focus on yellow. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve these two tips, and instead of doing something like this, so what I would actually end up doing here is quite simple. So as you can see here, we have this edge solved in its correct place, and if we were to cancel into the sledgehammer here, that would move this into an incorrect place, which we don't want. We want to preserve as much as possible. So what I would actually recommend doing here is doing an LR on tips, and instead of doing that, bring this edge out and do an insert like this, and that'll give you an L3E, which can be done very quickly. So just going over that one more time, it's all about preserving edges as much as possible. So as you can see here, instead of directly inserting this here into unfavorable L4E case, what we're going to do is solve these two tips and directly move into this, and that gives us an L3E there. So as you can see, while we might not be going for efficiency as much, efficiency is important, but it's important to also have a balance between how far you're able to see into the solve based on inspection. And in this case, while we might not have had as straightforward of a solution, it definitely allowed us to predict more in inspection, thus keeping us prepared for an L3E instead of an unknown L4E. Let's get into solve. Okay, so this is again not that great of a scramble, but there is a way to actually make it decent. So what I would do here is I would work for blue as my base, that is, and I would start by solving these two tips. Now what you can do is you obviously want to bring the three centers together. So you can do that in such a way that here you're going to build a block in the back like this. But obviously that involves a rotation, and we don't want that just as it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to finger trick it like this. Essentially start with red. Yes, and now what we're going to do, sorry, with blue, my bad. We're going to start with blue, and we're going to finger trick these two tips, and then start like this and do a thumb push here to build this blue and red block in the back. Do an are like this, and then you want to do your L4E in the front. You don't want to do something like this, and that'll have to make you rotate. So what you can do is you can solve this tip and insert this here, and that gives you the added benefit of bringing this edge up here, building this block, giving you an L3E case like that. So going over the solution one more time, it would be like this. Start by inserting this edge into the back like this, tip, insert that there, and L4E. Let's get into solve 6. Okay, so what you can see here is that you obviously have 2 blue blocks, which is important to preserve. These are also the only 2 blocks on the cube. Obviously with 2 blue blocks, I mean you have blocks on other colors, so you have 1 yellow block and 1 red block, but as you have 2 blue blocks, it's important to preserve that. So what I would recommend doing is, there are 2 ways to really finger trick this, and what I would recommend is doing something like this. Hold it like this, so that way you can have 2 tips at the same time solved. Start with those 2, R prime here, and move this out of the way, and that will give you an L3E there. And the reason that works is because of this. So as you can see here, ignoring the tips because those are pretty simple, what's happening here is this edge is moving all the way back to its slot there, giving us an L3E like so. First you move it in such that it's with its yellow, but this is incorrect, so it's not solved yet. And then this will bring it directly into its slot there, and that's why we get an L3E. And I would recommend finger tricking this like this instead of doing something like this. Just do it quickly like that because it saves a lot of time. So that is solve 6. So you can see that you have a yellow block over here, and you have a 2 move insert to make a V. So you have a 2 move V on yellow, so you obviously want to take advantage of that, and we want to try to predict as much as possible as well. So as we can see, let's look at other edges. If we just take care of these 2 tips, we want to hold it from this orientation preferably, and take care of these 2 tips. You can see that this will move here, and that will create an edge here. So you have your yellow edge here, yellow red, and you have a red and a blue here, and you have this green coming up here. So green will get matched over here, but it'll create a red over there, which is not what you want. So what that'll do is that'll give you this case, and it's a case that's quite long, but since it's a 2 move V, it will actually make it quite easy to execute. So what I would recommend doing is something like this, solving the tips here. Yeah, solve them like this, and directly move into this and do a thumb push here. So you've come to this and solve it like that. So just going over one more time, it's a 2 move V. What you want to do is start by predicting, because you have a 2 move V, so it's good to predict as much as possible. You can see that you have a V that goes U R prime U prime into a sledgehammer, because you see that this green will match over here, but it won't match here because this is red. And thus what you can do is flick this with your thumb so you can move directly into the algorithm and go like that. Let's get into solve 8. So this is a very simple solve, as you can tell here. What you want to do is preserve the 2 blocks on red, and you can do that by inserting them like this. And you also want to have a quick flip up to your V, and obviously the V has to be in the back such that you have your empty slot in front. So the way to do that would be like this: bring this edge into here and bring this block into here. So this edge and this edge come in, and you have a quick flip like this into the L4E. And predicting the L4E, you can see that this edge is here and this is coming up here, and that will come there. So what it will be is this, and this can be solved in 2 or more ways. So this is actually a pretty simple one. It's the one that normally goes R U R prime L prime U prime L from its base position. However, it's important to realize that it's not in its normal position. So what you can do is do this tip first, bring it here, and in my opinion a better way to solve it than this would be to do a U and do this. Yeah, so that's it for solve 8, bit of simple solve. Let's get into solve 9. So this is, I believe, our first 4 tip scramble. So it's going to be quite a challenge initially, but there is a good way to do this. So the way I would recommend actually orients centers correctly prior to L4E as well. So it will be done something like this: start by doing these 3 tips, and then you'll bring this edge here by doing a sledgehammer. So that'll bring this edge here, solve this edge, and when you do a sledgehammer, the last move is an R, and the first move to insert this edge would be an R prime. So we can cancel those and do L prime, R prime, L, R prime, L prime, U, R, thus getting in these 2 edges, and that will finish our V as well. So what we do is finish the first 3 tips and do a thumb flick like that, and we can do these 2 tips together and solve this case like that. So just going over one more time. Blue, you would start by doing these tips like this, insert and cancel a move there with your thumb into this L4E, and you can do the tip anywhere, maybe at the end as well. Let's get into the final solve, solve 10. Once again, this is a 4 tip scramble. It's actually quite a poor scramble, but there is a good way to do this. So in this such a case, I can't actually predict what the V will be, or I can predict the V, but I can't predict what the L4E will be. But I can predict how to do the V, and that will be by first solving these tips. You want to bring this edge into here because that's a slot. Yellow and blue goes into the yellow and blue. So that can be done by doing an R prime U, and that'll bring this yellow and red edge here, back here, and you want that to come here. So yellow and red comes into the yellow and red slot. So after doing an R prime U, you do a L U prime, and that would make an entire block with yellow, blue and red, after which that could be done with an L. So R prime U, L, U prime, L, and with the rotation you have your L4E, which is very fast. So that would actually be quite a quick solve, even though it's 4 tips. Let's do that one more time. So how that would be done is start by doing these tips and then solve this block into here, and that will give you an L4E case. Yeah, so that's about it for all these walkthrough solves. I hope you found them helpful. I tried to make this video as short as possible. It's still going to be quite long, but if you want me to go more in depth but do fewer solves, let me know. Let me know if you want me to do beginner's method walkthrough solves. Let me know all of that in my feedback Google form, which I just created. It'll be in the description. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.